Life.
Does it really? Oh my goodness. Very cool. Hey guys, welcome. Welcome everyone to this episode of PEPTalk, Productive Environment Podcast. I'm excited about today's topic, how to fall back in love with your to-do list. Yes, back in love, because surely at some point in your life, you loved making to-do lists, right? You loved writing down, maybe you started a business and you got to, do those new business things. It's like, oh, I get to go create my logo. I get to name my business. That's fun. And so you had a to-do list and you had these things on your list and you enjoyed it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Barbara and I are going to talk about how to fall back in love with your to-do list. I'm Andrea Anderson. I am the CEO of Productive Environment Institute here in Carolina Beach, North Carolina, joined today by...
I'm Barbara Hemphill, founder of Productive Environment Institute, and I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yes. And we are excited to talk to you about this topic and how this came up, actually. Barbara, I don't even remember what you and I were talking about, but we were talking about something last week. And I made I said something and I said, I have to do such and such. I don't even remember what it was. I have to do. And then I said, you know what? Let me reframe that. I get to do this. And you said, that's a great podcast topic. To reframe that. Like, I have to do this. It's like, no, I get to do this. And it really makes you think about, just the reframe of that. Like, I don't know, just saying, I have to go to the store, or I get to go to the store because, I have a family to feed.
Well, I've said many, many times when I hear someone say, I have to go to work, it absolutely hurts my heart because I believe from the bottom of my heart that God created us to enjoy our work most of the time. There's going to be tough times always, but basically we were created to do something very unique that only we could do. And then he also created us in a body of people where we work together. And so one of the principles of PEI from the beginning has been together we are better. And so if you say, I have to go to work, it means you're in the wrong work. That's just all it means. I mean, if somebody says that, I would say, let's talk. It means you're in the wrong work and let's figure out what that is. And then if you say, I have to do something, the question is, maybe you don't have to do it, or do you get to do it?
That's right. So we're going to dive into each of those. And one of the first questions to address is, when did your to-do list stop feeling helpful and start feeling heavy? So if you think about that, and a to-do list for different people looks different. It could be, scratched down on a sticky note or a napkin. I have always loved systems. So I've always been attracted to those notebooks that had the to-do list with the little boxes and you check off, and now as we've moved into the technology age, having the little electronic box that you check, I've just always gravitated towards that. Some people don't ever make lists. They just try to keep it in their head, like all the things they need to do.
I've never been a big list maker at all. But as I've gotten older, I've learned now that I have to be, which is why I'm so thankful that you introduced me to the SOAR board, because I didn't used to make a lot of lists. I made some, and I used Planner Pad for years and put to-dos in it. And that worked really well. And I think I was quite a productive person for the most part. But as I've gotten older, and I think busier too, I have more contacts now because of the nature of my work. I'm having multiple appointments a day and traveling and Zoom calls and things. And it's just a lot to remember. And the to-dos have to be put in smaller spaces because they're in between appointments. And so it's become essential for me to have a to-do list at this point.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it frees your mind if you just get it out of your mind.
Absolutely.
And free your mind up for other things.
So, in retrospect, I wish that is something that I had learned a lot earlier. But I think I didn't have enough experience with, well, people like Carrie Thomas, one of our certified production environment specialists. It's like helping you figure out what's the artsy way, what's the fun way to
Yeah,
do it.
the fun way, the visual,
Yeah.
some people, yeah.
And I remember having a client, one of the clients I had, he said, I make to-do lists of things I've already done because it's so much fun to check them off. I mean, he
Yes.
literally would do that.
Yes.
And I just was a sporadic to-do list maker.
Yeah.
Really was very sporadic.
And so that's interesting that we come from two totally different, like I love a good list. So I love a good planner, but we both find value in the SOAR board, the new tool that kind of I don't like to talk about software a lot, and we don't want to sell software or teach software, but we created a tool that actually puts Barbara's methodology for the last 46 years all together, and it really encompasses. I didn't set out to do that. Did not set out to do that. It just kind of evolved. And I just love that we are completely different. We have completely different styles, and we both love the SOAR board. It works for both of our brains.
Well, we've always said that this is, and since I started the business, it's always been about the art of organizing. In fact, I think about, there was a woman, a dear friend, we worked together as business partners, as friends, and we did a seminar in Virginia, and we both had the same handbag. We had purchased the same one, but we were at the seminar. They didn't look the same, even though they were the same, because we used them so differently. I mean, it was just, and that's, you and I call each other peanut butter and jelly. We go after things very, very differently, which is the strength of our program, because it isn't a structured way of doing things. And we always, over and over, when people say, what should I do? We always say, that's the wrong question. The question is, what will you do? And the new tool, the scoreboard that you created, is life-changing for me. I mean, I feel the most productive, the most flexible, the most in control that I ever have. Am I always? No. I mean, so to your first question, when does your to-do list begin to feel overwhelming? Periodically it does, because I'm an idea person. I'll say to my husband, I have an idea. And he'll go, oh no.
He does again.
And that's how I feel too. I've said, I wish I could turn off the switch or whatever, but it's every conversation has an idea for the to-do list. So having a way to control it, and SOARboard has become that for me. So I'm thrilled.
It has to be something flexible that works for you. I'm going to read out 4 bullets, and then we're going to discuss. Okay. So this is the have to trap. Okay. The have to, I have to do something. So I'm going to read these bullets. So most people approach their list as a list of obligations. I have to do this. Language matters. I have to call this client. I should do this. I must handle this. That feels differently than I get to, which we're going to talk about in a minute. What is the emotional impact of the have to trap? Overwhelm, guilt, and procrastination. There's more, but those are the top 3. So overwhelm, guilt, and procrastination. And what those are signs, and what other signs are there that you've fallen out of love with your list? What other signs are there that you've fallen out of love with your to-do list? So let's discuss that. So most people approach their list as list of obligations. Language matters, emotional impact, overwhelm, guilt, procrastination, and signs that you've fallen out of love with your list.
Well, I think the big question is, your to-do list is your life.
Yeah.
So if you're not in love with your to-do list, then you need to do some serious self-research. What am I here for? What do I want to do? And life is precious. I mean, we've all had examples of when somebody that we thought was around forever suddenly wasn't around anymore. And we all know we're coming to an end. And I mentioned earlier, getting older. And as I get older, it's more and more like, wow, the amount of time I have to get done what I want to is getting lists. So I think if your to-do list is all have tos, then that requires
some Reevaluation.
Reevaluation, and it requires stopping. I think one of the biggest things that everybody doesn't evaluate. We have Kathy Music in our program, and one of the things she's been doing now for 9 years or something like that. Every Sunday night, she reevaluates her to-do list from the week and goes back and looks. I admire her so much for doing that. I don't know that I could ever accomplish it, but makes a whole lot of sense. And then the question is about have to do is like, do you have to do it?
Right. All right. Which we addressed that. We're going to talk about that in 2 more bullets. So let's shift over now to the get to mindset. And that's get, not get. I just realized I'm saying the get to. Okay. So reframing our tasks as privileges. Have you ever thought about that? The tasks that we have on our list, they could be privileges. So number 1, I get to speak to clients because I have a business. So if you've ever felt yourself say, oh, I've got to talk to this client, or I've got to do this, I've got to email this person. No, we get to because we have a business. We're doing something that we love. We're doing something that we're passionate about, and we get to. So here's another one for you guys, especially our SOAR members. I get to manage this paperwork because I'm building something important. I get to file. I get to create these systems in my office or my home office for business and life because I'm doing something important. Maybe you don't have a business. Maybe you're retired, and you're volunteering, or you're caring for someone. If you're caring for someone else and you have all that paper related to that, you get to care for that person. You get to organize that information so you can find anything you need when you need it. So get to, I know you're going to elaborate on this a little bit later too, Barbara, but get to unlocks gratitude, energy, and action. Get to versus have to. Get to unlocks gratitude, energy, and action. So you want to ask yourself, if I truly saw this as a get to, how would I show up differently? Just the thought of that, Barbara, like in changing the words to I get to do this, or I get to call this person, or I get to, have this webinar, or I get to do this podcast. I never feel like I have to do this podcast. But you and I both love this podcast. So we get to talk to people every week.
I think that brings up something that's really important is that there's always going to be some things. I mean, I get to organize my taxes. I'm never going to,
right.
That's not everything it's going to be. However, I can make it as painless as possible by, first of all, having a system to do it so it doesn't take so long.
Exactly.
And by having someone to help me, someone that's qualified and that I enjoy doing business with, makes a really big difference. But if your list is full of all kinds of things, and you can't make yourself, I get to. And I think about the example, I just watched this amazing video about a woman who was in a car accident, became a paraplegic, and wasn't able to walk. And now they've done this thing where they've implanted something in her brain and she's able to take steps. It's like, okay, I don't like exercise, but I think about, I get to exercise. I mean, I have legs that move. And not only that, but I can do it in community with someone else. So one of the other things is when there's a to-do that you need to do, because you want to stay healthy. I mean, if you want to stay healthy, then exercise, as far as I can see, is not an option. So then the question is, how do you make it so that it's easier? And for me, the answer to that is always doing it in community in some way or another.
That's right. And we're going to talk about evaluating your list. We're not suggesting that you have to love and be excited about everything you have to do. Like Barbara just mentioned, taxes, bookkeeping. I mean, the things that you don't really
Although there are people that like to do bookkeeping.
Sure there are. And that's where there is a place for them in this whole thing. We're going to talk about that. But I think before we talk about that, we get into what you love to talk about most, Barbara, anyway, is vision. Okay. We need to have what is our vision, and use our vision as the anchor. Okay. So what does that mean? Your vision determines what belongs on the list. Your vision determines what belongs on the list. Tasks disconnected from vision feel heavy. And that is one of the things I love about the SOAR board. We keep our tasks connected to the projects that are connected to your vision, all in one place. And it is a beautiful thing. Bring projects into focus. How does this task serve the bigger picture? Maybe there's a little task that you're like, but it's part of your bigger vision. Okay. And accomplishing that task or moving that task forward moves your whole project and your whole vision forward. So as we just mentioned, SOAR board helps connect the action to purpose. Okay. And I'm not going to go into the tech on that on here on this podcast right now, but you want to be able to connect those tasks to a project that connects with a bigger purpose. Okay. You're not always going to love every little thing, but Barbara, where do you see the vision as being important here as well?
Well, I think there's two reasons. One is that if you have a vision, then you can always ask yourself, does this to-do move me toward my vision?
Right.
And if it has to be done, like the bookkeeping, for example, then it doesn't mean you have to do it. In fact, the very first person I hired was a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Because I knew that there was no way. I signed up at community college for an accounting course and lasted 2 days and said, okay, if I have to do this, I have no prayer.
Forget it.
And the first thing I hired was a bookkeeper. So may it have to be done, but it doesn't have to be done by you. It may have to be in the beginning, but then you have a goal. Part of your vision is that by the end of the first quarter, I'm able to hire someone to do it. But the other way to look at it is there's a lot of people, I have to say, I feel very sad as I'm out in the world and realize how many people are not really clear about their vision. They're really not. And it hurts their heart. It hurts my heart. It makes them feel, we use the word anchor. Well, they don't feel anchored. If you don't have a vision, what are you going to be anchored to? And the way to find that vision is by looking at those individual to-dos and saying, does this have anything to do with what I care about? What's important to me? And if it isn't, then can I not do it at all? Or can I delegate it? Or can I do it an easier way?
Yeah, exactly. If you just have a list and you're basically just getting by, you're going through the motions of daily life. You got to pay the bills. You got to do this. You got to do that. Take some time to really think about that and dig deep. Like what is something important in your life that you want to accomplish? And then let's tie those tasks to that. So as we've mentioned a couple of times, not every task deserves your time or attention. Okay. So what do we mean by that? Use the get to as a filter. So if it's not a get to, if you're not excited about, I get to do this, can you delegate it? Is it something you can delegate to somebody else? Like Barbara said, first thing she got was a bookkeeper. First outsource she did was a bookkeeper. Can you get an assistant? Can you get your child to do it? Can you delegate it? So if it's not something you're super excited about. In fact, we had a retreat one year where we talked about this. It's really difficult for entrepreneurs to delegate. I was in that boat for years working with you, Barbara. Every time I thought about getting help, I was like, no, I can do it myself. If I take the time to teach someone else, I might as well just do it myself. And I put that off for a long time. And I remember we had a retreat and we talked about that. And one of the people said, she was brand new in business and didn't have, the money to hire anybody yet, to hire an assistant. And we kept digging into it and we found out that she had a child that was old enough to vacuum. And so she was able to delegate that one chore that it was not a get to, I get to vacuum. Even though we can reframe that and say, I'm blessed to have a home that has carpet that I can vacuum. We can reframe that, but we don't always love that. So she was able to delegate vacuuming to her child. So if it's not a get to, can I delegate it? Ask yourself that question. If it's not urgent, can I delay it? Just because you think of something and you add it to your list doesn't mean you need to do that list in order. It doesn't mean it's the next thing on your list. That's where prioritizing comes in. And not just prioritizing, but also, and this is where the SOAR board comes in again, deciding when, asking the next question. Like if you have an idea to do something and you put it on your list to get it out of your head, but it's not something that needs to be done for the next, until say 3 months from now. Still get it out of your head. Ask yourself when, and put it in the right place so that it comes back up to you at that time. You don't need to do it now necessarily. So ask yourself, this is a filter. This is your get to filter. If it's not a get to, can I delegate it? If it's not urgent, can I delay it? And if it doesn't matter, can I delete it? Just because something pops in your head to do, or that's a good idea or something, doesn't really mean it's something you need to act on. Go ahead and get it out of your head, put it on the list, but then evaluate that list and see, does this really matter, or can I delete it? So you want to lean into systems that support smart decisions. Go ahead, Barbara.
Well, when we started doing paper, we always talked about the art of wastebasketry by saying, what's the worst possible thing that would happen if I didn't keep this piece of paper?
Yeah.
And then in digital, we said, what's the worst possible thing would happen if I deleted this email or this document?
Yeah.
And the really big one is, what's the worst thing that would happen if I didn't do this? If you find that you are procrastinating about it, then the question is, what's the worst possible thing? And, we keep going back to this because it's so true, to think that if you just got organized, you could do everything and have everything and keep everything, is a lie. And we're addicted to our to-do list, and we often use it as a form of procrastination. And that leads me into, remember the 4 quadrants of time management? And so you had what's urgent and important, which is where most of our clients live in the beginning. When they join our program, they are mostly doing the urgent and important. It's constantly putting out fires. And then there's there is the important but not urgent. That's the ones that, wow, filing taxes, that's important. It's not urgent until you wait until April 15th.
Eventually can be.
Eventually it is, yeah. And then there's urgent but not important, and there's not urgent and not important. And a lot of people are doing things that are not urgent and not important because they can check it off the list and it feels good. That gives you an adrenaline.
Oh.
But the real question, if you go back to vision, is what is important but not urgent? Because if you don't do it when it's not urgent, it suddenly is important and urgent, and now you've messed everything up. And again, that's where the SOAR board comes in, is because, as you said earlier, we talk about all the time that if you've got something on the to-do list, the $64,000 question is, when are you going to do it? And you have to have a tool in some way to plan that.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So let's talk about how to make space for what matters. And that's where your to-do list can help you do that. So we talked about people like to check off, and I'm one of those people that like to check off our list or mark it out or whatever. And that's the joy of completion over accumulation. Okay. The joy of completion over accumulation. Go ahead.
I just thought of something that we were talking about, how different we are. When you finish a task, you like to check it off so you have a list of what you've done. When I finish a task, I want it off the list. I don't even want it there. And I think that's another example of what is it? Because I'm so easily overwhelmed that I don't want anything on it that I don't have to have. So
that's the beauty of the SOAR board. I don't keep it in my vision all the time. I mark it off, and then I can show my completed items, or I can hide my completed items. So, and the reason is because if you just delete yours completely, then you have no record that you ever did it. There are times for me, and the reason I do that, there are times where I'm like, did I do that? Did I actually do that task? And I can search for it, find it, even though it was completed, it's still there, and I have a record of when I did it. So
I can completely understand the value of it. And there are times when I think maybe I'm probably addicted to the art of wastebasketry. Because I am so easily overwhelmed. I just am.
You're not the only one. Demetrius is the same way. I call him, he's a deleter. He is a deleter. And I'm like, why didn't you save that? And he's like, because I did it. I didn't need to save it, And so I'm like, yeah, but you need it now. So anyway, sometimes there are times that happen where it's like, oh, that would have been helpful if you'd have kept it. So I'll send something to him sometimes and I'm like, do not delete this. Put this in the do not delete folder. So we have it, or you have it when you need it. But yeah, you guys
I'm
are very
always
similar.
fascinated though, back when I used to sit with people doing their papers, and I've heard this story hundreds of times where every time I throw something away, I need it again. And I'd say, oh, can you give me an example? And most of the time they could not give you an example. It was a fear that was what was going to happen, but it hadn't really. Now, there are some times, and I had one very dramatic experience of that with a large government organization where I went in and there were literally thousands of dollars of office supplies that were unused. And I'm thinking, what is this? And it come to find out that several years ago, there had been budget cuts and they weren't able to order supplies. And so then this scarcity mentality came in. And so like when there was a sale or when they would order it and they went overboard. So, there's so much emotion in all of this. And I think the reason that Productive Environment Institute works so well with clients is because there's so many of us. There's you and me, we're very different. And we've all the consultants, we all different. And so we're working with you to figure out what feels good for you. What is accomplish your work and enjoy your life in your personality. And it's an adventure and it's an exploration and it changes too. Sometimes we use the 4 questions all the time. Does it work? Does it work? Do I like it? Does it work for the people I impact? And can I recover quickly because messes happen? And those 4 questions you can ask every 6 months. And if the next time you ask it, it doesn't mean it was wrong before. It just means things have changed because look at how AI is changing everything for the world now. So
that's right. That's right. That's exactly right. And this one, I want your feedback on this, Barbara. Loving your list means trusting it.
That is such a powerful, you gave me that when we were talking today, and I just love it. The word trust is such a powerful word, isn't it? I mean, it's like, in whom is our trust? I mean, as a believer, my trust is in God, and lots of times things go wrong. And when they start going wrong, it's like, okay, I trust you got a plan and you're up to something. So now I kind of laugh and say, okay, what are you up to? What's this about?
What are you doing now?
Yeah. Where are we going? Where are we going now? But to have a to-do list that you trust so that nothing important is going to fall through the cracks I get chills as I say the word. It's like, it is such a comfort.
Yeah. Yeah. It's peace of mind. So we talk about the SOAR board creates the structure plus flexibility. So however your brain works, you can build your SOAR board like that. And that equals peace of mind. So the SOAR board creates structure plus flexibility equals peace of mind. That's what we're after. And when your list is a reflection of your true priorities, it's energizing. It's not draining. It's energizing. So one question I have for you, actually I have 2 questions for you guys. So wherever you're listening from, answer this question. Would love for you to make your way over to our YouTube channel so that you can answer there and join in the conversation we can have there. But what's one thing on your list today that you can reframe as a get to? Okay. Something on your list today. And whenever you're watching this, whether you're watching live or the replay, think about one item on your list today that you can reframe as a get to. Okay. That's one question. The second question is, what's one thing you can delegate or delete? What's something you can just completely get off your list and go on and do something else more important? So think about that and answer those questions. You can answer on Facebook or LinkedIn. Ideally, we'd love you to be over on our YouTube channel and like this video, share this with someone else, subscribe to our channel. And then also, you've heard us mention the SOAR board multiple times. We're in love with it. So we're not hiding that. So I want to let you guys know where you can find out more information about it. So you can go check out our SOAR into Action workshop at workshop.productiveenvironment.com. Workshop.productiveenvironment.com. And that's where you'll be able to actually get your own SOAR board. And it's completely customizable. We do not believe in putting you in a box. And interestingly, the SOAR board does work with boxes, but you have a lot of flexibility to work with those boxes. Okay. So I'm going to leave you with this. And then Barbara, if you want to add anything, your to-do list should serve your life, not run it. Okay. Your to-do list should serve your life, not run it. And you can fall back in love with getting things done, one intentional action at a time. And the last thing I will say is, whatever you're working on, what's the next action and when? That together, that combo is powerful. Okay. Before we were just making lists. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. What's the next action and when? That can change your life. So Barbara, you want to close us out?
We always want you, when you finish this, listening to us, wherever it is, or whenever I'm giving a speech, I always say, if you listen to it and enjoyed it, but you don't do anything differently, then you might as well have been taking a nap or doing something different. So I really encourage what Andrea said, to challenge you to take just a few minutes when you get off this, to look at your to-do list, to start one if you don't have it, but ask, what is a way that you can reframe at least one thing on the list? And then the other one is, what is something that you can delegate? Hopefully you can find something you can delegate and something you can delete. And then you will be more likely to accomplish your work and enjoy your life.
Amen. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Don't forget to share this with somebody that needs to hear this message. And we will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.